All right, next let's talk about the f-stop. All right, so that's the next number here. So to control that very quickly, we hit the AV button and then to control the rotary dial. So I'm going to press in this AV button right here. And I'm going to rotary dial, or set my dial to the left. And now you can see in the same direction, well, actually it's opposite, pardon me. I'm getting overexposure, right? And then I'm going to rotate this way. The number gets larger, and it's going to be underexposed. All right, and so what is the point of the aperture? You'd think, oh, well, I'd want it to always let in the most light. Well, not quite. What happens is when the aperture is wide open, the light comes in as a cone, and the convergence of that cone might be somewhere up here. We want it to be back here on the sensor, and then that's what will be in focus. That'll be clear. If it doesn't hit the sensor, that cone of light, we'll get what's called diffraction. It'll split, and things will become blurry. Now, this is a great thing if you want the foreground or the background to be blurry, so you can focus on a particular object. So let's say, for instance, we'll try my water bottle here. Let's see if now I'm going to zoom in on my water bottle. I'm going to focus in on the top of it. You can see that. There we go. And now notice the diffraction. So my water bottle is crystal clear, but my coat hanging on the hanger there with the door handle, those are blurry. Now I can focus in on the door handle if I want, and now my bottle's blurry. So this is a really great way to compose a shot, because you might want to focus in on the doorknob. That might be your focal point, or the topic of your narrative, if you will. Or maybe it's the bottle. So that's very important, because you have a background now, but you're telling the audience or the viewer to look at the foreground. And that's why we would want to set our f-stop to a low number, which opens the diaphragm, which causes diffraction, which lets in more light. But let's say I wanted the doorknob and the bottle to both be in focus at the same time. Well, then I would need to change my f-stop. I would increase the number. So I'll press my AV button here. I'm going to rotate that so the number gets really large and things are getting really dark. The diaphragm's closing. So now I'm going to have to adjust my shutter speed to let in more light. So now the bottle, the foreground, and the background are in focus. And so that's why you'd want to adjust your aperture setting. So everything in the foreground and the background are crystal clear. Right? But then again, see, it's part of the exposure triangle. So as I increase my f-stop number, and by making the diaphragm smaller, I let in less light. So I had to make an adjustment with my shutter speed and my ISO to compensate for that light, because there's not a whole lot of light in here. And so that's what ISO is. It's really just a digital compensation. But remember, right now I'm at 3200. My image is going to start to get grainy. It's going to be very grainy at 6400. 3200, it's going to be very grainy. You're safe between 800 and 1600. Those are pretty safe places to stay. Okay, so that's the exposure triangle. That's how you get the best light.